Well, hello people. Here we are in Chapter 16. Chapter 16 talks about Venice in the High Renaissance. That's getting into the 1500s. In this chapter, we start taking a look at how the Venetians focused on color as an element in designing paintings, whereas the Florentines focused on perspective and drawing things out carefully before they started to paint them, and then added paint and different colors to flesh out the drawing. The Venetians saw color as a much more elemental component of their paintings. And in this chapter, you're going to see how color plays a role in the balancing of the objects in a painting. Painters were accustomed to putting the most important figure in the center of the painting. And we'll see here how Titian violates that, puts a significant figure off to the side, but balances the painting by the use of color. So that's a very important element to think about in Chapter 16. This chapter also introduces a painter named Giorgio Nay. We don't have very many paintings by him, but he was a very monumental figure in the Venetian Renaissance. He was one of the first. Well, that was an interesting explosion, wasn't it? Giorgio Nay was one of the first to paint landscapes with people who had no religious significance or no mythological significance. In a way, it's a little tough to figure out his paintings because we don't really know why some of the figures are there. We don't know what his inspiration was. Giorgio Nay and Correggio also made use of light in a very significant way, very different than painters in other areas and in other eras. Giorgio Nay used light in one of his most famous paintings, the Tempest. Light from a storm where lightning is lighting up the background in a very interesting way, very unique way. It's a painting in which the foreground, which contains human figures, isn't really the center of the painting at all, but it's the landscape in the background. And Correggio used light in a way that very starkly put things into contrast between light and dark, usually a very vivid light source that was putting some figures in the painting into shadow and was very brightly lighting other figures in the painting. Now, I've associated this unit with two added items of reading. One of them is a 10-minute topic on color, which introduces, since we're talking about color, it introduces things like why our eyes see color and what color really is, and how we achieve different colors by mixing light and by mixing pigments. So I think the write-up on color, which is called Why Color, will be very interesting to you. It does have 3 short embedded videos, some of the best videos that I could find on the topic. And the very last video that I asked you to watch is about Giorgio Nay, and it's a tour of some of his paintings. So it amplifies what the book talks about in this chapter. I think you're going to enjoy this chapter.